It's Christmas time, mistletoe and wine, children singing Christian rhyme. Nicolino here, bringing you that Christmas spirit, because around Youth Intake Day I always start humming Christmas songs to myself. The increasing feeling of anticipation and excitement from the day of the intake preview to the actual Youth Intake Day is as close as I get to the build-up to my childhood's Christmases. The hope of finding a Sega Mega Drive or maybe a He-Man figure is now replaced with a tingling feeling of hope that maybe, just maybe once, the rumors of a golden generation will finally prove to be correct. Begging for a Mega Drive until my parents gave in might have worked as a child, but it doesn't work on the Football Manager game because it doesn't make my youth intakes any better. There are ways to increase the quality of youth intakes, and the first step is to actually understand the mechanisms behind them. In this video, I will explain how the youth intakes work and hopefully give you an idea or two how to maximize your own chances to find a wonder kid under the Christmas tree. This video is made together with Passion for FM, and if you want to find guides and insights into how youth development and youth intakes work, then visit Passion for FM. I will put a link to the website in the description. Maybe you know and maybe you don't, but I'm doing a Youth Academy challenge with Swedish team Brommapojkarna. In this save, I'm only allowed to use plays produced in my own academy, which restricts the number of plays I can use, but puts great emphasis on youth development. And lucky for me, youth development is what I enjoy the most about Football Manager. I like it so much that I decided to create this video, and I hope that you enjoy it too. If you like this sort of content, give the channel a sub. Give the video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or anything you want to add about youth intakes or youth development in general, hit up the comment section. Let's roll. I will keep this guide general, but I will use examples from my own save to highlight certain aspects. Let's start off by looking at the factors that affect youth intakes in FM21. To simplify things, we can break it down into three areas: national region, club facilities, and head of youth development. The first factor to take into consideration is which nation the club you are managing comes from, because in FM21 every nation has a youth rating between 1 and 200 that determines the average quality of new gens created into the game. The higher the better. It also determines the likelihood of a generational player created in that particular nation. The top 10 youth rating nations in FM21 is Brazil, Germany, Italy, followed by France, Argentina and Spain. And then we have Egypt, Turkey, Holland and Nigeria. And if we look at the bottom of this, we have Montserrat, Northern Mariana Islands, Kiribati, US Virgin Islands, Wallis and Futuna Islands, Aruba, Anguilla, Bhutan, Tuvalu and East Timor. Maybe not footballing hotspots, any of them, which makes it kind of natural that they will not produce the next Neymar. There is no way for you to affect this rating in the game, but at least it can give your hopes of finding the next Pele or Neymar a reality check, because Brazil is the most likely country for the next generational new gen and will also produce the highest level of new gens generally. There's another aspect though. The location of club also affects the type of players you get through your youth intakes. In Brazil, for example, players tend to be more technically gifted, while take Scandinavia as an example, the players are more hardworking and aggressive and less prone to create unexpected magic, and that is shown in game by the fact that you get different sort of playing styles depending on where your club is geographically. So you cannot do too much to affect this, but the next important factor you can affect, and that's club facilities. Three of the club facilities affect the actual youth intake: youth recruitment, junior coaching and youth facilities. One of them determine how good pre-intake players your club can attract, and the other two determine how well they develop from that point until the actual youth intake day. Before we look at the youth recruitment rating, let me explain the concept of pre-intake players. In recent versions of Football Manager, the new gens aren't born on youth intake day. No, they are there from an earlier age, even though you cannot see them. They are referred to as juniors and are hidden, just like the professionalism attribute. I like to think of these players as members of the academy based in youth teams, training and fighting to earn a place in your under 18 squad. On youth intake day, they become available to you, but you can affect their development before that, if they haven't already been poached from you, that is. Yes, this is an actual feature in the game. If you are managing a club with a good youth setup but a low reputation, you could see yourself lose juniors to clubs with a higher reputation. This will show up as a news item like the one I'm showing you now, and the player will come through at a future intake for his new club. I lost Melke Jonsson, potential star striker, to IFK Göteborg, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. The likelihood of a junior poaching happening is not only determined by the reputation of the club though, but also by the youth recruitment level of that club. A club with exceptional youth recruitment will have a more wide reach academy networking that may let them poach players of home or foreign origin on a more regular basis than one with a limited youth recruitment level. These poached juniors will appear in the game at the next appropriate youth intake, as long as the head of youth development considers the players to have developed accordingly to the rest of your juniors. For instance, a player may have been poached at the age of 14 but won't come through or appear in the game until they turn 16 within that season. It all depends on the minimum age allowed within that nation. Now, let's move on to the stuff that you can actually affect. Youth recruitment, your place in the pecking order. Every club has a youth recruitment rating between 1 and 20. It can be described as how good a club is at recruiting juniors to their youth teams. So the club's place in the pecking order when it comes to getting players from the national pool. The clubs with the highest rating nationally and regionally get the best players. There are exceptions to this. You can still get a great player as a club with a low rating, but this is how it works in general terms. The youth recruitment rating is displayed in game like this. 1 to 2 is limited, 19 to 20 is exceptional, and you see the list in between. The youth recruitment can be raised through interactions with the board, but it will be a costly and time-consuming project, especially for a club on a small budget. Junior coaching. It can be described as your quality and quantity of coaches for pre-intake players. Once the pre-intake players or juniors arrive at that hidden back room at your training ground, it's time to get to work. How high your junior coaching rating is represents the quality and quantity of coaches for your juniors. This, together with youth facilities, will determine how much your juniors develop until they become available to you on youth intake day. The ratings ranges from 1 and 2, which is basic, to 20, that is exceptional, and both the junior coaching and youth facilities will equally contribute to the production of current and potential ability of your juniors pre-youth intake day. This will typically relate to the youth rating level and game importance of that specific nation. Youth facilities, your quality of training facilities for pre-intake players. The youth facilities rating represents the training facilities available for your juniors. Together with junior coaching, this affects how much your juniors will develop. Just like with the other ratings, it ranges from 1 to 20 but is displayed slightly differently. 1 to 3 is poor and 20 is state of the art, and you can see the descriptions in between. If you increase youth recruitment, you will get better pre-intake players, and if you increase junior coaching and youth facilities, your pre-intake players will develop more until the youth intake day. Sounds easy? Well, facilities are not all that matters though. No, the man or woman in charge plays a big part as well. The head of youth development, or the HOID, can be described as the staff member responsible for youth intakes, and your head of youth development is indeed the staff member responsible for these youth intakes and basically everything that happens before that. Therefore, I like to look at him as the godfather of your academy, with great power to recruit juniors, help them develop, and then send them to the youth intake day. But with great power comes great responsibilities. How can we help our HOID help the kids? This is the head of youth development I'm using in my save, recently retired player Mattias Moström. He ticks several boxes for me, even though he isn't ideal. He is the best one I can find with my club reputation and budget, and I'm going to explain why. 3 things are more important than others for your head of youth development: attributes, personality, preferred formation, and playing style. The working with youngsters attribute is important in the development of juniors, as well as determination, level of discipline, and motivating. The higher the attributes, the more he will develop the players. Judging player ability and judging player potential are also important. They reflect the ability of the head of youth development to assess the players at 2 times. First at the youth intake preview, and then on the actual youth intake day. Let's look at the intake preview. It's a rough estimate of what you can expect from your actual intake this season. The better the head of youth development is at assessing this, the more accurate the predictions will be. The assessment is based both on the quality and quantity for different positions of your youth intake players, so make sure you read all the lines. Green text is for positive assessments and yellow for the negatives. We all love to find that line of text. This is a terrific group of players coming through and has the potential to become a golden generation. Don't read too much into that though, since that is only your head of youth development's way of telling you that a high enough number of players are coming through that are above a certain current or potential ability level. It doesn't say anything about the ceiling of this group in terms of current or potential ability. Instead, you should focus on green sentences describing player quality. If we look at my latest intake preview, the sentences describing player quality, such as looks a great prospect, has the potential to go far, and has caught the eye, are descriptions of individuals worth looking at. So this means that I will most likely get a decent goalkeeper, a defensive midfielder, and a striker from the next intake. The head of the youth development personality has the potential to rub off on the pre-intake players like a mentor in a mentoring group. Do you have a model citizen as a head of youth development? Then chances are higher that you will see players with the same personality turning up on youth intake day. My head of youth development, Mattias Moström, has a driven personality, which means that his determination is at least 18 and his ambition is at least 12. 2 important attributes when it comes to player development. The third one, though, he is lacking a bit of professionalism. If he would have had a professionalism attribute of at least 14, he would instead have had a perfectionist personality. 2 out of 3 is as good as I can get in a head of youth development at the moment, but ideally you would want a model citizen or perfectionist, since they guarantee high values in determination, ambition, and professionalism. The personality of your other youth coaches are also said to have a smaller effect on the personalities of players coming through, but in reality the head of youth development will count double. Except for personality and attributes, there are more factors to consider when you pick a head of youth development. His preferred formation and playing style also affect the sort of players you get through your youth intake. The preferred formation determines the positions of players coming through. My head of youth development's preferred formation is a 5-3-2, which suits me well since I'm using a tactic without wingers in my Brommapojkarna save. This makes it less probable for wingers to come through in my intakes. The head of youth development's playing style affects the sort of players you get through. With a technical playing style, you get more technical players, etc. My head of youth development uses a standard playing style, which means that we will have a more general style of players coming through, determined by the player type of the region, as mentioned earlier in the article. So since I'm in Scandinavia, I will have more aggressive, more brave players, but lacking a bit of technical abilities. Since I'm playing more technical style of football, I would have liked a more technical playing style as well, but you can't get everything with the budgets I have. So we arrive at the actual youth intake day, and now we get more information than we did from the preview. We get to meet the players and we get to know a lot about them, like their attributes, age, preferred foot, etc. We also get a review of their current and potential ability in the form of a star rating. Don't read too much into these star ratings though, as they don't represent the true current and potential ability of your players. They are merely representations of perceived current ability and potential ability. If you want to know more about current and potential ability, you can go watch my guide on this as well. Links are somewhere up here. I will not go into detail on what affects these things, more than the fact that you're ahead of youth development. Judging player ability and judging player potential plays a part. Do you remember my prediction of getting a decent goalkeeper, defensive midfielder and a striker? Let's see what the actual youth intake looked like. Okay, so a 5-star potential defensive midfielder, a 4.5-star potential striker, and a 4-star potential goalkeeper. Exactly as predicted by my head of youth development. He seems to have a good enough JPA and JPP to get his predictions right. He also states having shaped the mentality of Victor Johansson, who is determined, and Cristian Moreno, who is fairly professional. So finally, before we finish this guide, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but I think that the judging player ability and judging player potential of your head of youth development are even more important than you think. I think these attributes come into play when he recruits the pre-intake players as well. So having a head of youth development with high JPA and JPP helps you get better juniors regardless of your youth recruitment rating. That's all for this guide into youth intakes. What you do with them once they arrive in your under 19s or under 18s is a completely different story. I hope you enjoyed this guide and that it gave you a few insights into how youth intakes work in Football Manager. If you want even more information, visit Passion for FM. Thank you for watching. Bye.